Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Joy of Connection tonight. And unfortunately, this is my last show for this season. However, we'll be coming back in July with some really interesting topics and panels. So I'm really looking forward to that. But tonight, I'm really excited because I have somebody really amazing on tonight. Her name is Lara Wells. I'll be bringing her on shortly. I met her probably a few months ago, and it's been not only has it been a good experience for me, but there's so many great things that are said about her in the industry. So before I say any more, I'll let her come on and tell her more yourself. So welcome, Lara.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? How are you?
I am great, thank you. I'm so honored to be here. And what a build up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Well, it's true. You know, everyone kept saying, oh my God, you got to get a reading from Lara. You got to talk to Lara, Lara. So I had to follow you and find out more. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. But we've got some lovely messages here. Someone's saying, hello, it's the first time here. Hello, lovely Lara. She's amazing. So
Thank you. I can only see them as Facebook users.
Yeah, they need to go into StreamYard and StreamYard has a link at the top and it says, click on there and put your name on it and their names will come up. So they just need to do that. And the producer will put that message up here. There you go. You just got to give us StreamYard to give you permission and we can see your name. Otherwise, whoever said hello first time here, I can't see you. All right. But hello, the Global Advocate Career Podcast. Hi, from New York. All right. Lovely. We got everyone.
That sounds very posh.
Yeah, it is. It is. Last week. So I'm honored that she's joining us again this week. This is great. This is great. So Lara, as we're starting now, please tell us where you were born and where do you live?
Well, I was born in Dumfries in Scotland. Right. Okay. And I
south, east, west, where is that for those of us who don't really know?
So it's the southwest of Scotland. And I go kind of between Wales and Scotland because I have a castle in the southwest of Scotland as well.
Right? Wow. So, I got to hear more about
I dreamt about a big white house with pillars when I was about 4.5, and I still remember it. It's still quite fresh. And when I saw this place, it was suggested to me by somebody. And I thought, well, I'm going to have a look at it. Got the housekeeper to show me because it had been shut for a couple of years. And I went running in and ran out and I took pictures of it and I didn't visually see the pillars, right? And they're unmistakable, so they are. And it was somebody else that went, Lara, the pillars. It's white with pillars. Because I've gone on about this big white castle with pillars. Only I saw it as a big white house because I used to joke and say, you're not going to make it to the White House. I mean, come on. It's like, and it is. I got it. In fact, shall I show you?
Yeah, please show us.
Right, so that's, I'm going to get it out with that. Yeah, so that's how it looks when all the flowers are out.
Can you bring it down just a little bit? Yeah. Oh my God. Wow, that is really a castle.
Pillars at the front there. Yeah, that's a front door. There's a side door as well, on the other side there, that comes out there onto a big lawn, and it's stunning. Somebody's obviously put a lot of thought into the garden many years ago, and we get such amazing bloom from it. So we do.
Wow. We're getting a hello from Gwen. We were just speaking about here, so here we go.
Gwen's here. Hello, beautiful Gwen. She's just such a beautiful soul. I love Gwen's energy, so I do.
It's true. Her energy is very sort of serene and calm and sweet. That's why we keep her around.
That's right, we do. I know.
So tell me, how many rooms are there in this castle?
Oh God, there's 18 bedrooms. 18 bedrooms, because they all have en suites and stuff as well. I've never actually counted how many rooms. Do you know what I mean? I was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 18, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I think there's about 32 rooms altogether in the castle.
Wow. Have you ever had a time where the house was full? Well, the castle, not the house. The castle was actually full of people.
Yes.
We was filled.
Yes, we have done when we first got it, and we sort of like changed it and turned it around. We had a whole house full of German people that came that was actually booked for a few years. So we took that on board and we kind of like opened our place up to that. And then we kind of did a bit of bed and breakfast type thing. And then of course it's been closed with COVID as well. But we were actually hiring it out, you know, to families and stuff like that. And it was really popular. But actually, I know I quite like it. I love sitting in the garden there. I love being there and in the big, you know, like hall, big sitting room, I call it, with the fire on, winter time, and the big table out, you know, with the Christmas stuff. I always wanted, because I've got 5 children, all my children, grandchildren, that round the big table, you know, that sort of thing. I know, I'm just a family girl at heart, but I had to go overboard, didn't I?
We'll have to do a retreat there. That would be awesome. Can you imagine a retreat?
It would. You know, it absolutely would, because I see a lot of retreats advertised on social media, and they're always in really warm places. Yeah. And then I look at our place and I think, it can be really warm. It's not far from the beach, right? It's about, you know, a 10-minute walk from the beach. But it can also be really cold, but it isn't part of the dark skies, right? Which means the skies are unusually dark, so it makes the stars look brighter and stand out more and closer. It feels like you can touch them when you're there. It's amazing. Yeah. And we're not far away from the largest crystal museum in the world.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah.
We're going to check that.
It's only about 10 miles away, and in Creetown, and it's like I think it's the guy's dad that originally started it off. And there's massive crystals that, you know, if you have a crystal kind of fetish, you know, a crystal kind of, you know, like you go and you say, I've got to have those crystals, and you've got all like a collection. Yeah. You've got collections and you've got a collection. Wait till you see, if you ever go to Creetown, to see the collection there. It's incredible.
Wow, that's really good to know. That's really good to know. Well, I think if there was going to be a retreat at the castle, people are going there because it's a castle, not because it's cold or it's got, you know, it's for the experience, isn't it, of having that. So
it's experience. It can be cold in winter, I've got to say, you know, because it's a really old building. It's hundreds of years old, you know. But when you know, in lockdown, you know, when you're there, it's just that, you know, I feel so fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And so are you living in Wales, or is it just something you're doing back and forth between?
Well, my son's down there, my partner's down there, you know, so I have family. So I like to go back when, you know, obviously when lockdown's off, I make the most of going there. And because if I don't go, he's kind of isolated down there, and he's on the autistic spectrum. So I have to, you know, go backwards and forwards. My partner's family have a manor house down there as well. They have like a big hotel there, so I kind of stay in a lodge down there and get to see, you know, my son. I've got to say, yeah, and it's good. It's fortunate, not bad for somebody that's been homeless 3 times in their life.
Well, we're going to get to that. I want to hear all of that, but let's come back to that. But I just want to ask you, because the show is about connection, do you remember how we connected?
It was Clubhouse.
That's right. I called you the Clubhouser because you're on there pretty much like every other week, right?
Every second Sunday, sometimes third Sunday, depending, but every second Sunday. And do you know, I've got to be honest, that I didn't hear a Clubhouse when it first came out, and I ended up in there listening to somebody else. Before I knew it, I was talking, right? Before I knew it, I was doing a 4-week course. When the girl I was doing it with bailed because of something I said, and she transformed her life, and now she's like doing retreats, believe it or not, that are really, they sell out every time. And I do readings because, believe it or not, when I first started my career, I did radio a lot, you know, when you're on, so all I had was the voice. So Clubhouse is the perfect platform for me because I don't really need to see anybody. I don't need anything else other than their voice. And it's like going back home because that's how I started.
Wow. Well, for those of you who don't know much about Clubhouse or know a little bit about Clubhouse, I will post it in the group afterwards so you can get the address, and you can, I don't know if you call it an address, but you can get the link to Clubhouse and join Lara's show, which is every other Sunday. I think this Sunday will be
Sunday, is the next one. That's right. And then every second Sunday after that. And
is it around the same time, 8:30 or 9? I can't
9
remember.
o'clock. It's supposed to be 9 to 10:30 UK time. I think it's 4 till 5:30, you know, Eastern time.
Yeah,
but, because Tara is in, and it's, you know, she's in Canada, but we usually end up going to about, it's 11 o'clock at night. You know, it's.
I've never seen you get off in an hour and a half.
Oh, I don't think I have. You're absolutely right. I don't. But do you know, I feel blessed because I wouldn't have got to meet wonderful people like yourself. I wouldn't have got to. It's literally like being in a room, isn't it?
It is, and I love it because for those of you who are interested, you can sign on and queue up, put your hands up, and wait for a 5-minute reading from Lara, and she'll do it live in front of everybody. So obviously, only you know what she's talking about when she's talking to you. But I think that's pretty gutsy, Lara, to be able to do that in front of. I mean, when I went on, and the time you gave me a reading, there were 50 people in the room. So waiting to be, and I was just like, oh, and I'm at the front of the queue. I feel sorry for you lot. But does it make you nervous at all when there are that many people? Or do you not think about it? You just get on with it?
I don't actually notice them. I only actually like focus. It's like tunnel vision, isn't it? Focus on the ones, you know, when they bring them up into the part where you can talk, right? Every now and again. So I haven't got a clue who's listening most of the time. And I think, you know, again, probably the power of learning on radio years ago, you know, when you had like thousands of listeners. Like I did at Kerrang radio once as well, but I did, wait for this, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say, I did boob readings.
Boob readings.
What I didn't know, because they paid for me to go and everything, and the Kerrang studios were just like amazing, and they have like 2 million listeners, you know, like back then. They've probably got more now. And apparently they'd raffled off, or they'd auctioned off you know, a competition for Winkle readings, right? But when I arrived, they gave me champagne, right? They had the Green Day, you know, the band Green Day, they had the Green Day drums there and everything, right? Everything was mirrored. I couldn't even see where the door was, you know, it was like all flush. And then they sort of led me through, you know, the mirror doors and things, plied me with champagne, and then told me I had to read this guy's Winkles. And I'm like, well, I thought shells on the beach. I'm like, no. And then I thought, oh no, I don't. Well, the guy never showed up. So I ended up having to do a boob reading on the woman that was there. But obviously it's on radio, you didn't see anything. But that was probably one of my more unusual moments. But basically, you know, learning on radio, reading on radio. Listen, the girl that I did that on ended up emigrating to Australia. She's really big over there. And she still contacts me to read for her virtually. So, and I told her apparently at the time by reading her boob that she'd end up over there. So who knew? There we go. Who knew?
So tell me, Lara, what do you know, with all that you're doing, you're helping so many people, you're giving them direction, advice, guidance, I would call it. But what do you do for yourself, for self-love and self-care? What do you do to take care of Lara?
I get in bed, get the duvet on, and put some something on like Netflix or whatever, like The Real Housewives, you know, of Beverly Hills, you know, that sort of thing. That's what I do. Have a bath with some beautiful like Himalayan salt. Right, so, I quite often bath in Himalayan salt, I've got to be honest. I'm going to get my nails done. I love wearing like scented body creams and things, because I think that by doing that, you activate the senses on your body.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps balance me off. Yeah, stuff like that.
So no hugging trees, no walking.
I've had trees before. I can hear trees. I can put my hand on the wall and I can hear a building talk to me. I know it sounds really weird, but I can actually, there was one house I went to move to once. It was actually, it was called Virgin Hall, actually, this place, right? Which is a very strange name, isn't it? But this house was to do with, I think the guy that had it was actually the minister of the church, and then he died and his son inherited it, and then I rented it at one time. And I remember going in and putting my hand on and like touching the wall, and I heard the wall say to me what happened to the guy, that he was on the like a quad bike and he fell off and he actually broke his back but didn't realize it. And then he passed out, he collapsed in the sitting room and he was foaming at the mouth and things. They got him to hospital. It turned out that he'd actually broken his back. But I told the woman that owned the house that the house had told me that it had taken care of her husband when he broke his back, right? And I'd collapsed in there. And that's when she said, oh my God, that's exactly what happened. But nobody knew until he collapsed and he was foaming at the mouth. And so, suddenly I could hear buildings talking to me. There you go.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. You know, intuitive. I mean, I'm very intuitive actually, but I wouldn't take it to the level of making a business. I wouldn't say I could be intuitive with other people. So when did you know you had this gift that was above and beyond what your average person might have?
My mum recognized that when I would cry a few minutes before, like for no reason, before the phone rang, and it would be bad news, or I'd suddenly get all excited and start laughing and stuff as the phone rang and it was good news. right? And it took a while, and then she realized that if she watched how I was, she knew what was going to happen over a period of time. You know, I got into my teen. I used to stand like and look up at the sky, and I knew there was more than what there was. You know, it was kind of like an understanding that I kind of was in me anyway. And I thought everybody was like that. I used to take myself out of my body and watch myself sitting in a chair.
Wow. So levitating.
Yeah. And one night I made the mistake of telling my dad, right? Right. Because I thought everybody could do it. Right. So I was in bed. My walls are all painted purple and stuff, you know. I could tell if there was a thunderstorm coming. I would get up and tuck my dolls into their pram and that. And I was always getting told off. Right. And I would say, but there's a thunderstorm coming, Daddy. You know, get back into bed. I was restless in that. And a few hours later, there was a thunderstorm. So my dad came up anyway. I was never allowed out to play, you know, and I had to go to bed early. And one night, my dad would say, I just saw that Caroline Wallace had some sad news today. I'm sorry to hear that, Caroline, sweetheart. And I said, Daddy, I could take myself out of my body and jump from wall to wall, and I could tell you who's playing outside and what they're wearing. And he thought it was a game, and he went across. He's an engineer, my dad, by the way, so he's very logical, very black and white, you know.
Yeah.
And so he went out, he went to the window, pulled the curtain back, and he went, well, go on then. And so I reeled them all off like a game. And then he went really pale, put the curtain back, and then walked out. And he's never, even to this day, he's never ever talked about it. He's never asked me what I do. He talks about what everybody else does, but never actually asks what I do. Or I know. So, and that all stemmed from there. In my teens, my mum's friends would come round and I, you know, pick up on things and tell them. So they weren't asking her for advice. They were, you know, asking me. So my mum would be making them tea and they'd be sick talking to me. And I think it probably created an issue after a while. But there was this guy, Arthur, his name was, and I just didn't like him. There's not many people I don't like, but there was just something weird about him. I felt a shift in me take place in the opposite direction to normal. And I would get a funny feeling. And he was great. He put my mum's bathroom in, put my mum's, you know, kitchen in. He was engaged, you know, to one of my mum's friends. Well, she's passed since then, sadly. And he was just the ideal guy that you would be forgiven for thinking if somebody said anything bad about him, you would have thought it was a complete lie, honestly.
Yeah.
But there was just something, and I didn't like him. It's just, it was shifty to me. As in, I shifted the wrong way. My shifty, right? As in, no, I'm shifting here. And so there's something energetically not right. So I left home at 16 to work with racehorses. And I'd come back because they were getting married. My mum said, come back. I said, I don't want to, no, come back. So from my mum, I came back. And I'm sitting at the wedding, right? And I'm looking around. And it's a bit like you notice things, don't you, as an intuitive? You notice things that other people don't. And I thought, well, who's that? And I thought, well, I'm looking there. And I'm looking over there and I'm thinking, there seems to be more people here than what they're supposed to be. There was a weird feeling. Anyway, next thing, the police arrived and everything. It turned out he was a bigamist, and they were all his ex-wives and or should I say wives he'd married with kids, right? They weren't ex-wives; they were still married, all of them.
Is it? And you're saying this to your mum was going to marry?
No, my mum's friend Poppy was married. Yeah. So of course, this is why I felt he was a bit strange. So kind of that's when people started to really take notice. I think at that point. Yeah, the odd I did seances. I ended up by accident doing seances or taking part in things, and you know, then the guy couldn't turn up, and I ended up having to do it. And I thought, I don't know what to do, but suddenly I didn't know what to do, and I just did it. Yes, I do past life regression, and I also do future life progression as well with the same technique. So allow your mind to see a snapshot of its own future, which can be incredibly releasing. But yes, I do. Past life, some of us have many. I've only ever met one person when I regressed them, didn't even have a past life. She was just, that was her first life, but not, you know, that was the only time. And it can be immensely shifting. So absolutely, I do believe in past lives. And there's also a theory that you can be reincarnated back into the same family as well. You should read the book, The Children That Time Forgot. Right, that would, The Children That Time Forgot. Yeah, but that would get you thinking, because there's stories from children all around the world who have had past lives and they don't know how to lie. They don't know any different at that stage, and you know, it's all documented in there. It's an old book, but it's a very good book. You should be able to get it on Amazon.
Okay, the Children That Time Forgot.
Yeah,
I'll post that in the group as well. Wow. So tell us a bit more about your story. I mean, you're an intuitive, you have 5 children. How did that happen? Well, I know how it happened. You know what I mean?
Well, I had a
That didn't come out right.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I could probably say that about them at times as well. It didn't come out right, but so basically, I had my eldest is 31, and I've got 3 grandchildren.
Wow.
31. So there's a bit of a gap because I had a daughter between him and my second son, who's nearly 25, by the way, and she died when she was 9 months old. Sadly. And then I had, 3 sons after that, and then my daughter, and I've had 14 pregnancies overall to get them. So anybody that's thinking, oh my God, listen, I worked really hard to get the ones that I got. It didn't come naturally. I had CVS tests and all the rest of it. So, but when I was pregnant with her, I remember the husband at the time asking me, because by this time I had a set of tarot cards. My grandmother was going through the wardrobe, was throwing them out, and I happened to walk in when my son was about, a year old, and she was putting them in the bin. And after a bit of persuasion, she allowed me to take them. She says, "Oh, I tried to use them and I couldn't, and your mum tried to use them." So it was kind of in reverse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was studying at the time as a mature student, so I took the cards into college, and I tried to read the book. Have you ever seen those books, Michelle? They're like tiny, So there I was on a nighttime tin, and I thought, how can anybody on that first page? So I binned that. I to the side, went into college. I said, oh, I've got these cards, and they were all do as a reading. So I did 7 people readings, never read the book. I was too proud to say I hadn't read it. So I thought, well, how hard can it be? So nobody got to any lessons, and I did these readings. And when a couple of weeks, all started coming back saying these things had happened, like the baby, somebody's mother got diagnosed with cancer, and yes, she was okay, like the cards are saying. And they started telling other people who told other people. And before I knew it, they were all wanting to come to my house and had them. So it's accidental, really.
Wow.
Right? I think sometimes you can be in a position because you're meant to be there, and the universe conspires for you to be there. And that I can say. And so when I was pregnant with my daughter, the husband at the time, because I was married by that time, he said, "Oh, pick some cards, come in and have a look." And he and I looked at them, and I thought, that's weird, because my mum had picked cards that day, and they were exactly the same cards. It was like they told each other what cards that they picked, and those cards were telling me there was something wrong with the baby that I was carrying, and she wouldn't survive.
Wow. I mean, how did you feel, but what did you think in that moment when you saw those cards? Did you think
it was a weird feeling, because you've got instinct, right? And this is the difference. You've got your instinct and what you're able to do about it, right? And the two are very different. Just because you know something's going to happen doesn't mean you can actually do something about it.
That's
I
right.
had clients that committed suicide at one time within a space of a couple of weeks, and every single one of them had tried to stop, but it didn't. I couldn't, because I just couldn't. And that was actually quite that was a really tough phase as well. So it's not always been easy. I've had a massive learning curves at various times, and when you're working with people and problems, a lot of the time, and having to find solutions and things like that, and look into the future and able to protect their feelings at the same time, so that you're not sending them away wide open, so that they can, that they're going to be able to manage themselves and manage, that future. It can be, there's actually more to it than what you think.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, don't you feel like there's a massive responsibility on your end about how you deliver it? And because, what you might say to one person might just roll off their shoulders, and somebody else, it could be completely devastating. So are you able to feel their energy when you're delivering it? Do you kind of know, oh, I can feel this person. I know I can't lay it on too thick, or I have to keep it quite light. How do you sort of measure that?
Yeah, you kind of, within the first 3 seconds, you can feel whether you can say, everything. Some things you can't do anything about. There's no point in, you don't destroy somebody's, happiness and something that they can't do anything about. But that's where the questions come in. At the end, you can say we've got a couple of questions. If they really want to know the last then you've got permission to say, right? So there is responsibility. You're not God, right? The big guy upstairs, he's the one that gets the last say. Can I just say that, right? So basically, I'm kind of just shoulder rubbing them till they get up there. I know that's really what's made the journey a little bit more entertaining. But it has been, you know, I've had a minister who killed his wife once. I had to wait for him. I've been, you know, ghost hunts, paranormal stuff, you know, like it's not just sitting with a set of cards reading for people. There's actually quite a broad spectrum of what you do. You know, I've read for people as young as 14, and only with their mother's permission if they happen to be there, you know, but generally up to the age of 96. I once did a women's rural, right, whatever, but none of them could hear.
Rewind. What was that word?
A women's rural, right, where nobody could hear me and there was nobody younger than 80. And they wanted me to read their palms and tell them their future. Right? No, wait. I don't
know how you handled that one. You're gonna have a
just go along with it, don't you? I relied on the fact they couldn't hear me very well.
I'm sorry, we're laughing, but
I tell you what, though, the surprising part wasn't even that. The surprising part was they do all their minutes and stuff like that, and then, you know, the financial person gets up and said how much that they have in their kitty, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like expecting it to be like maybe a few £100 or whatever. They had 100 grand in their kitty.
Wow.
You know, it's like, then I was the one with a hearing issue. I know. I'm like, what women's rural has 100 grand in their kitty? I mean, who have they robbed? That's what I'm like. Where have I come to? Seriously.
I love it. Oh my goodness. So when did you go from, well, I guess I've got a couple of questions, but so do you consider yourself the vessel when you're carrying this information to people or giving this information to people? What do you feel like? Do you consider yourself a tool, a vessel, or how would you describe your role?
You're kind of like, the vessel's probably a good word. I added a little snigger to myself because it is a funny word, isn't it? The vessel.
I don't know. I'm trying to find out what you might say.
I know, like, kind of, it kind of channels through you, doesn't it? Listen, I think everybody's got intuition. I think it's just more well developed in some than others. Like, there's some things I can be quite thick in entirely, right? You know, I don't get it. You know, it's almost like I've got a very naive part of me where it just doesn't register somewhere. So there is a kind of like a payback in another way in my mind. You know, I can be very much that way, but on this way, I can maybe look like the light's on, but nobody's in sometimes. So, yeah, well, you know, when you go to church, I suppose, and you connect to God and you pray and stuff, you're also a vessel for that energy too, aren't you? Right? For information. I mean, I talk to dead people as well, right? So, you know, I'm also being a channel, if you want to call it, a receiver. Think of it like a receiver for a Wi-Fi signal.
Okay.
And I just happen to know how to convert that and communicate it vocally so that everybody can understand it.
Okay. All right. Well, we have to talk a little bit more about that. Wow. Wait, I'm just going to go back to that. So you're a channel for dead people is how you phrased it.
Oh, yeah. And it can be quite funny at times. The amount of times I've come out the shower and gone, what? Thinking somebody shouted mum, but nobody's there. It's just me. Right. And I'm like, I once slipped in the shower and nearly broke my neck. And I was like, that's the last time. It's banned. You're banned from coming in the bathroom. No. Right. It's like, yeah, it's quite alarming when you turn around and you see somebody there, and, you know, and you're not expecting them to. There's times where I've woken up, sat bolt upright, and the bottom of the bed has been like hovering in the air. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't envy your job.
I've spoken to dead people thinking they were real. They were actually physical people, right? Thinking other people could see them. And I mean, it's been in front of everybody as well, only to find out afterwards that actually nobody saw them but me. So it makes for a very entertaining life, I've got to say, right? There's times when I'm sat there and I have to look normal, even though that I can see somebody else talking, and I have to keep it, you know, to myself. So, because you've got who you are by day, it's a bit like a prostitution. You got me by day as a mum, grandmother, and then by night, you know, I kind of switch into that part. And I had to get quite disciplined like that, because in the beginning, I would sleepwalk, I would, you know, sleep with my eyes open and everything, talk in my sleep, because my brain wasn't switching off. So I had to get some sort of kind of like regulation going of this is when I do this and this is when I do that, and try not to let the paths cross, because it's going to lead for a very, very weirder life, I think. And I
Wow.
could get sectioned at that rate. That's what I was telling myself. Because there's different types of hearing voices, isn't there? Let's face it,
Yeah.
And I think that if you're hearing voices and they're telling you to do bad stuff, you've got a problem,
Oh, okay.
right?
I'm just checking.
Right. So that's your check system, okay? But if
Okay.
you're hearing people talking to you and you can identify who they are and validate the information for whoever is there, that's different.
Okay.
Okay, there's a fine line.
Do you think if you were a bad person in life and then you died, you'd continue being that way?
I once said there was somebody that was a very, very bad person in life, and he ended up in this hospital situation. And he refused to sleep because he knew he was going to hell. Right, if there's such a thing as hell.
Yeah.
He was awake for weeks, right, which obviously wasn't doing his mental frame of mind. He was ill. He didn't want to shut his eyes because he knew he wasn't going to wake up again. So they got a reflexologist in to go around all the patients and press their feet so that they did his feet, and it sent him to sleep, and then he never woke up again.
I don't know what to think of that. I should really...
What I'm saying is about bad people, right, is that bad people, good people, it's about choices, isn't it? It's about, you've just got to do your best and show up your best, haven't you? But yes, you do get some people that can be very puzzling with some of the decisions they make. I mean, we don't maybe always make, because we're human, we don't always make the best decisions. It's a journey, isn't it? Yeah. But some people, there's a different discussion actually, Michelle. Some people, are they born that way? Are they created that way?
I think some people were just born that way. Have you ever seen a kid and you're like, that kid's just bad. He came out the womb bad. He's going to grow up bad.
Well,
You're probably right.
That's right. You can. And like I said, I've read for a minister that's killed his wife before, and he was all dressed up normally. So thinking that I wouldn't know it was him, right? Or it was him and what he'd done, and he was trying to cover it up. I've read for some pretty, I was high-end criminals.
High-end criminals. I like that.
Yeah, high-end criminals, that can be very plausible on the surface, but everybody's got stuff to hide. That's why they don't usually like me around, right? Everybody wants me in the room and then they change their mind at the last minute. because
I don't really want to tell everybody what I did.
That's right. When I was younger, I used to be a bit reserved about, saying people what I did, because if you were out socializing, you get Pam shoved under your nose, and I'd just say I was a toilet cleaner. It's far easier. Because I go to the toilet at a nightclub, I'd be there for 3.5 hours trying to get out, just because people would be coming in and be like, "Oh my God, it's like, how are you doing? Well, this happened and that happened," and I'd be trying to make my way from the cubicle out the door, and it would take me hours.
So I'm sure everyone just wants to know. And then, like I said, the reputation that you have. The person that told me that I should listen to you was just like, she's awesome, and everyone says that she gets it right, and other people say that about you all the time, so that's great. So let me ask you, when did you decide that you can, I was gonna say take this on the road, but that sounds very show businessy, but when did you decide this is a business, there's a business here, there's a business?
I did a business course. Yeah, I had my cards, right? I was pregnant with my daughter that passed, and and I'd done some years studying to do my nursing, start my nursing. But of course, had her, she was terminally ill. So I had to give that up, went to go back again, fell pregnant with my son after that. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just not going to, I can help more people. If you've ever sat in any of these lectures and stuff, they are like in the mental health side, there's 70%, right?
Yeah.
It's trial and error a lot of the time, even over there it is. There's so many advances and stuff that they're changing things all the time. I decided at some point anyway, consciously, that I could actually help more people doing, what I do. And so I did it properly, did a, business course and stuff, because actually, and it's only actually the last couple of years that I look back and I thought, Lara, I've just monetized everything that I've done. I've also been a pole dancing instructor and also a burlesque teacher as well.
Oh, that was one of my questions. Have you done anything else?
Yeah, and I've also used to streak people's hair and cut their hair, because mum's a hairdresser, so I worked in hairdressers. I would do that in my teens and make extra money, and I would work in the hairdressers. I rode racehorses for a couple of years, so I've always monetized. I couldn't just have a hobby. I had to actually, it was just something natural. It's an entrepreneur thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So doing that, I went in the newspaper because at the time, I came second in the Livewire Business Award, and I only didn't win it, they said, because I didn't employ anybody.
Oh.
And then because of my age, I was just under 25. So I tried, the Prince's Trust for funding so I could grow my business at the time. And they said yes. And then they took it away because they didn't want me associated with Prince Charles at the time. Right. So they gave it and then took it away. And then somehow the national newspapers got hold of it. And before I knew it, I was driving into Carlisle, Glasgow, and that was plastered all over the billboards.
Wow.
Right. And to begin with, I was like, 6-7 days a week I was working. I was making banoffee pie every day to give to my clients. You know how long you've got to boil them tins of toffee for in 4.5 hours. Sweat latching off. Well, I'll tell you what, that had to hit the road, honestly, after it, because when that happened, it just exploded. We didn't have social media back then. That was my publicity. And then, of course, it's word of mouth, isn't it? It's like a wave that just goes further. People were flying in to see me and driving up from down the south of England. And so it just kind of happened, and I went with it.
So have you done any readings for any celebrities? In fact, you can mention them or not mention them. You don't have to, but have you had?
No, I can't mention that. But I can't. It's a bit like being a doctor. You can't mention your patients, and I really don't go along with people when they do that. I think it's like, but I have read for a couple of really high-profile celebrities, I've got to say, and they were quite normal. When I met them, they were quite normal, right? They were dressed normally and everything, so it was actually quite nice. But it was nerve-wracking. I think it's nerve-wracking. They have the more fame, the more money, the bigger the problems. I think I'll just leave it at that.
I'm sure. Wow.
I've got to say, mostly mine, to begin with, my dad's dad was a poor man's lawyer, as they call it, right? You'd go into court and defend people that didn't have money and stuff. There's that kind of element within myself to begin with, of your everyday people. You just serve people. It doesn't matter if they're celebrities or, people are people.
Okay. And
right?
You still feel that
Across
way?
the board. Pardon?
You still feel that way?
Oh, I do still feel that everybody, you're born with no hair and no teeth. You die the same. Right? And so it does not matter what you achieve. It's morally like today, right? I parked the car at the bank, and I came back, and a woman had crashed her car in front of me, right? And it was all dented. It was a Volvo, and it was what hell. And she was automatic. Apparently, it jumped forward and it crashed into the wall, and there she was, and her hand was, and she was trying to phone. And I'm like, are you okay? Can I help you at all? Can I go and get you something or somebody? Not one single person did that. Now, that should be the same philosophy all over. It does not matter who you are, what you've done or whatever, that if you can help another human being, you're morally responsible and have a duty to do so, regardless.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. I love that you said that.
Yeah, I do. I feel strongly about that. I think that might be in the DNA as well, but maybe I was a priest in a past life as well. I don't know. But I've never really gone there. A couple of lives, but I've not really tackled that one. But I do think that it's we're all human. Nobody's better than anybody else, right?
Yeah, of course. So, oh my God, you're entertaining me so much tonight. I feel like I'm just gonna sit back and let you talk, and I'll just watch the show.
Okay.
A question for you. So, add to your list of accolades, you've written a book called Spiritually
Slimming. Yeah, I won the award for being the best medium in the UK as well, right? And that was voted for by people.
Can you show me?
Yeah. You can see the case. I'm at my son's, so But that's my book, Spiritual Slimming. I actually wrote it about 12, 13 years ago, right?
Wow.
Yeah, when I had a lot my weight, but I lost 13 stone, 4 pounds, right, by following what's in this book here. At the time, it was a theory. I would say it's more than a theory now. It's really exploring the whole why we put on weight. It's nothing to do with food, right? It might be after a while, but it's more to do with the responsibility, the baggage that we carry in life, right? We're not letting it flow through. It's blocked within us. And when it blocks, then our weight starts to block, right? Start to pile it on, right? It's a protection. It's a fight or flight thing, right? Now, I think with everybody, we all have fight or flight, right? And it's what you do in that fight or flight that matters. And that fight or flight sense is also good to train the intuition as well. Like I have been known to blindfold people when I'm training the intuition, right? To sit them in a dark room. Why do you think, Most Haunted was so popular? Right? Because it was in the dark and, the mind tends to go into fight or flight and, sees things. Weight is the same. If you've received a lot of like conflict throughout life, abuse, perhaps that you've been abandoned, neglected, that sort of thing, these are things that can stay unprocessed in your system, in your body, and fight or flight triggers something within you that will go into protection mode, basically, and you then start to protect and bulk up your body, right? Protect you from the outside world because it's a perceived threat.
Yeah.
Once you release that threat, right, and just let it go, just let it go. It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter tomorrow. Just let it go, whatever it is, and work through it and keep walking through it. Then your body starts to get the message that it doesn't need to bulk up and it actually lets the weight go.
Yeah, I believe that, because I know that for myself, I'll maintain a decent amount of weight. And then the minute I get really stressed, it's like I bloat up, literally. I can see myself getting bigger. And I haven't eaten any more than I usually eat. I haven't drunk, I'm not doing anything differently, but it's definitely related to stress. I can feel myself just bloat. And then reverse, when I start to relax and I just sort of get through it, then the weight starts to just come off as well. So, yeah.
Exactly, right. 80% of your brain cells are in your stomach.
That's right.
So if you're overloaded up here, the term gut reaction, right? But you're overloaded, you can have food intolerances, right? You could, like, before I lost the weight, right, I couldn't have garlic, I couldn't eat bananas, I couldn't eat oats, right? I just, was not tolerating stuff at all. Think about it, not tolerating stuff. So my system's full of something. It's just identifying what it is. Right. Now I did have plenty of massages. I had muscle sports therapy trigger, which was very painful to begin with, to get the knots out of my body. Right. So also when you're like, you can gather, it's a bit like if you receive an injury, right, or a knock or something, you can actually gather energy round about that place and therefore weight as well.
Okay.
So sports therapy massage is really good as well for a good release to trigger your body and your mind to release the weight.
Oh my goodness. I've got this sports masseuse, this guy.
Yeah.
Good, but I feel like all I do is scream when I'm there. I'm sure these days he's going to say, don't come back. Because I'm just like, I'm really relaxed.
I know. And you've got to really keep you there and try and really contain it. Right? Don't scream or anything, just contain it, right? And so that then there's a burst that happens, right? You suddenly get a relief feeling, and then your eyes start to pour water.
Yeah, cry.
Without crying, pour water. Now, at that point, the image in your head, it'll show you an image of how you got that to begin with. That's what you pay attention to, and then it just lets it go.
Repeat that.
Right. So in your mind, right. So if you're lying, say, face down on the table, the massage table, right, and they're getting in and really put the pressure in, you know what I mean, and you think you can't take it anymore, and then they keep going, don't they? They've got to push it past that point of retention to release it. Right. So if you manage to contain it and you in your head, you're like, I don't think I can take anymore. You've had that feeling, I can't take anymore. And the next thing, there's a release thing that happens. You start to, you say cry. And sometimes I have cried and sometimes it's just my eyes have just gone like that. But if you pay attention to in your mind, right, and to pay attention to the image that you get in your mind, that image is telling you, right, it's releasing from that memory of what's actually happened. You actually get the answer to how that happened to begin with.
Okay, I'm going to try that, Lara. I'll let you know.
Good.
Thanks so much. So your book's available on Amazon because a few people have asked about it.
Yep.
We can find it on Amazon. We've got it posted here, guys. Here it is. But I will also again post it in the group so you can just click on it and buy away because it's a great book. So Lara, we're kind of at the end of the show. I'm really thrilled that you came and that you've imparted with us, your gift, because it really is a gift. And we have one more question. I don't want to forget this. She's asking, does Lara believe in curses like folks think the Kennedy family is cursed?
I think that's down to belief systems, isn't it? I think if you believe in something enough that it kind of will actualize, but they do seem very cursed, don't they? You know, curses, that's like asking me if I believe in voodoo, right? You know, you can get those little dolls and, you know, it's amazing what you can do in energetic form, right? And so, yes, I do believe in curses. Yes, I do believe that the Kennedys are cursed. And I do believe in voodoo dolls and stuff because there's a lot of magic and mysticism. There's a lot of stuff that happens out there in energy that you don't see. This part is just the part that you see, but there's a lot of stuff that happens, you know, other than that. So I'm probably, you know, I'm in profession in the energy that you don't see, but just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Otherwise, you wouldn't have billions praying to a God that nobody's seen.
That's right. That's right. Wow, Lara. My last question for you, thank you so much, is there anything that you'd like to impart to the audience, you know, to help them during this really challenging time? I mean, it feels as though we're coming out, but we're not out of it yet. So I guess that's my question.
I still think there'll be another lockdown that'll happen. And I think next year as well, because things evolve, of course. And I think that we've got to stick together, do our best. And when times get tough, you stick the earphones in and you put some really good music on and you dance.
I
And
love
you
it.
dance like nobody's watching, right?
That's right.
And you try not to buy into everybody's bullshit, right? You're in your carriage, you're in your train, people get on and off, right? Sometimes the people you want to stay don't and they get back off because it is a journey, but it's your train, it's your carriage, and it's about self-love, self-partnering with you first and foremost, right? And understanding that all this that you think you can't do, you actually can if you take a deep breath, right? Let it go and keep walking forward. Some amazing stuff happens as well. And there's some fabulous energy off of people that are, you know, in this chat column as well. And the fact that they showed up and so many have showed up, which is amazing.
Yeah. What's here now, we have people afterwards. So yeah.
Keep things moving.
Yeah.
So they don't stagnate, keep things moving. I think that's something I've got to say, and understand that you're more powerful than you know.
Oh, thank you so much. So much.
And thank you for those of you that are going to buy the book and stuff for something that I wrote 13 years ago and then chucked it, you know, in the corner, and then I got it back out again and actually applied what was in it and lost my weight. And I couldn't believe I hadn't done it before.
I love it. Listen, so where can people find you? They can find you on Instagram, correct?
Instagram, Facebook. There we go. We've got Instagram there, we've got Facebook, and my website is getting redesigned at the moment. So it's on larawells.tv, and hopefully it'll be live in a few weeks' time. And usually people track me down anyway. I've tried to hide, but they still track me down.
You're very responsive, which is one of the things I really love about you, because I sent a message and you came right back. It wasn't like 10 days later or 10 months later you came back.
You were very organized.
I see.
You were very organized. You are very organized.
I thought you were very organized.
No, you are. You're very meticulous, right? And you know, your energy is very directional, which is amazing. It's very refreshing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I love that. Yeah, I like that. Keeping it real. I lived in the States for many years, so I think it comes with that, just keeping it real. That's it.
Do you know, I say that all the time. I think real is best. I don't like something unless it's real to me.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, in multiple different areas, I like people that are real. Right. Yeah. And that's probably, you know, going back to the conversation about reading for celebrities or reading for, you know, your average everyday people, as long as they're real, doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, I think just to share with you, I'd lived in the States for many years. And when I moved back, I couldn't understand British culture anymore. I've been away for so long. So in the States, if you ask somebody a question, they respond with the answer you're asking them. When I'd ask somebody a question here, it always felt like they were going like, well, maybe, and like, you know, is that all right? And I just want to know what I just want to answer the question. Why are you asking me all this other stuff? Just ask me this. Just ask.
Answer like politicians, you mean?
Yeah. It was just people. Even my mum, God bless her, she's passed now, but she'd say, "Oh, wouldn't you like a cup of tea?" And I'd sit there going, "No." Oh, you want a cup of tea? Eventually I figured out that's what that was. It was, could you make me one? But she would never say, could you make me a cup of tea? It would just be like, oh, do you feel like a cup of tea? I'm like, No, I don't feel like a cup of tea. Oh, you sure you don't feel like a cup of tea? Why? Are you gonna make something? No, I thought you were gonna make one. It was just this whole thing in a circle. And I was just like, just ask me to make you a cup of tea. That's it.
Like I'm gonna have a cup of tea. Do you want one? Yeah, I'm gonna do this. So would you like to do that? There we go.
Never mind.
I know. You just want people to be direct.
Yeah.
Say what they mean what they say.
Exactly, you said it. Well, you are definitely saying what you mean, and you're influencing people's lives and really helping them and doing
Thank
great
you.
work, Lara.
With your help.
Oh well, I think
Help.
you're a natural, so you don't really need my help. But I just wanted people to be really exposed to how great you are. So thank you so much for your time and your input.
Thank you.
And I wish you well. And I'll see you back in the green room if you don't mind.
Back in the green room, yes, we're going in the green room. I like the idea of that. Why do we call it the green room and not the pink room?
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll do some research.
I know.
The director knows. I don't know. Addy, do you know why?
No.
No, nobody knows. And it's one of those questions.
Nobody knows. I
Inquiring
don't
minds want to know.
Pardon?
Inquiring minds want to know.
I know.
Green
room. I used to do stuff in the theatre, many years ago, and they've always just called it the green room, haven't they? But have you actually seen the room being green?
Never. I don't think I've
ever. Thank you so much. Anyway.
Thank you for the fun and the seriousness and sharing your personal story. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much and having me here.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So guys, thank you so much. How wonderful is Lara? Oh my goodness, I just love this woman. And as you can see, you can get more of her too. She'll be on Clubhouse this Sunday. She also has her book, Spiritually Slimming. And again, I'll repost her Facebook page and Instagram page. If you want to reach her for a live reading or a personal reading, she will do it. So it's been great. So guys, this is the last show of season 3. Don't panic, season 3. Season 4 is coming up in July, and I'm really looking forward to it because it's going to be we're going to be talking about things people don't really want to talk about, but we should be talking about. So we're going to look at things like black hair. We're going to look at menopause. We're going to look at maybe some mental health stuff. We're going to do a few panels, make it a little interesting. And I think I've got a couple of interesting men lined up. So I'll keep you thinking about that. So thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the lovely summer breeze before we have more rain here in the UK. But as I always say, be joyful, be connected, and shine your light. Good night.